Ahoj, zdravím vás v novém roce 2026. Hello in the new year 2026. Today is January 1st and you know what we say? Jak na nový rok, tak po celý rok. Meaning, the way you start the year is the way it will go. Which means if you're watching this video on January 1st and learning Czech, naturally you'll be learning Czech all year round. Isn't that great? My name is Zuzka and today I'm going to teach you 8 Czech words that are countable, but they are uncountable in English. This video is going to be practical for those that live in the Czech Republic, speak English and trying to learn Czech. So for example, if you are an English teacher at high school or you simply teach Czech people English, you will understand more what's going through their head when they make those mistakes. That's because they translate directly from Czech. You'll understand why Czechs like to say advices and informations. And this is obviously useful for those of you that live in the Czech Republic and want to speak Czech properly without any interference from English. First, I want to show you those 8 words that I will talk about. I wrote them in English first. We'll be translating from English to Czech. And we'll start with those more abstract nouns and move on to more concrete ones. We will cover information, informace, news, novinky, zprávy, advice, rada, rady, experience as in a set of skills, zkušenost, progress, pokrok, luggage, zavazadlo, homework, domácí úkol, and bread, chleba or chléb. Are you ready? Jdeme na to! Dobrý den, vítejte na mém kanále Czech by Zuzka, kde vám pomocí angličtiny vysvětluju českou gramatiku. The first noun that I'm going to introduce is information and in Czech is informace. Informace is feminine. Ta informace. That's why I used the red color here. In English you can have a lot of information, a piece of information, but in Czech we count them just because we can. So one piece of information in Czech is jedna informace, 2, dvě informace, 3 informace, 4 informace. Notice how the plural actually has the same form as the singular. And then 5 and more is 5 informací, that's genitive plural, or we could also say hodně informací, a lot of information. But in Czech, it's in plural. Informací, that's plural form. As if we said literally a lot of informations. We don't say a piece of information. We count directly with the numbers. Or we use directly the plural form. Many of you have purchased this ebook, The 100 Most Frequent Czech Nouns. So you can take a look at page 127 and you have this neat table that shows you the forms, the different cases of the word informace. And of course there are phrases and exercises to practice this word. Let's take a look at some examples to see this word in context. So remember, ta informace, it's a feminine noun and it's a countable noun in Czech. Tohle je pro mě nová informace. Tohle je pro mě nová informace. This is new information for me. Nová informace. This is the nominative case. Tohle je pro mě nová informace. Really good sentence if someone tells you something that you didn't count on because you didn't know about it. Or you come to ask someone about 2 things and you say, potřebuju 2 informace. I need 2 pieces of information. Potřebuju 2 informace. Informace, that's the accusative case. The plural form is identical to the singular form, informace. But we know that it's plural because of the word dvě informace. 2 informations. Potřebuju 2 informace. Potřebuju od tebe 3 informace. I need 3 pieces of information from you. No problem. We can have as many information as we want in Czech. Dozvěděli jsme se spoustu informací. You come from a workshop and you're excited. Dozvěděli jsme se spoustu informací. We learned a lot of information. We learned a lot of informations. That's wrong in English, but in Czech, Informací is plural genitive because we use the word plenty, spousta. Spoustu is accusative, spoustu informací. Plenty of information, literally translated. Dozvěděli jsme se spoustu informací. Hodně informací. So, that was informace. Let's see the next one. Our second word is news. In English, it can mean several things. In Czech, we translate it to zpráva and novinka. I will not talk about TV news or news from the world because that in Czech would be zprávy and it would always be in plural. I want to focus on the words zpráva as in piece of news that someone tells you, or novinka as in new piece of information. So it is a little bit related to the previous word, informace. In spoken Czech, we like to use the word novinka. Novinka is news, but as you can see, it's in the singular form here. So we can also count our novinky, our news. Novinka is personal news. Or we could say that it's new piece of information. So if there is something new for you, you learned something about someone, or you learned there is a different procedure, you could say, to je pro mě novinka. That's news to me. To je pro mě novinka. Novinka. It is a little similar to the previous sentence. I told you, tohle je pro mě nová informace. But this is more about the personal news about someone. Klára už tady nebydlí. To je pro mě novinka. Clara doesn't live here anymore, but it's news to me. Novinka is the nominative case. Tak co? Máš nějaké novinky? So, got any news? Do you have any news? Máš nějaké novinky? This is the accusative case and it's plural. So you can see jedna novinka, dvě novinky. And accusative is also the same form as the nominative. Tak co? Máš nějaké novinky? This is great phrase when you meet with a friend and you suspect they might have some news about something. Tak co, máš nějaké novinky? Or we could also translate news as in zpráva or zprávy. We can also count them. Mám pro tebe dvě dobré zprávy. I have two good pieces of news for you. Also the accusative case. Dobré zprávy. Dobré zprávy, good news. Špatné zprávy, bad news. It's in plural here, news, but if you had one piece of news, one piece of good news, it would be jedna dobrá zpráva. Keep in mind that zpráva also means a message, which in English is countable. So we're safe there. And I mentioned that if you want to say news from the world, TV news, radio news, that would be zprávy, always plural in Czech. Remember, novinka means nová zpráva, something like that. But if you want to say that this is novelty or this is new to us, we would say the word novinka rather than zpráva. And we can count both of them. Our third word is advice, and in Czech that's rada. It's also feminine, rada. And we can count it. Jedna rada, dvě rady, tři rady, čtyři rady, pět rad. Rad? That's right. Pronounced with t, rad. Not rád, but rad. Mám rád hodně rad. I like a lot of advices. In English, advice is uncountable. You can have some advice, a piece of advice. And in Czech, we can count our advices. Jdu si k tobě pro radu. This is an excellent phrase that you can use when you go to someone, to a friend, and you want to hear their opinion, their advice. This means, I'm coming to you for advice. Pro radu. Clearly, the accusative case. I'm coming to you for advice. Jdu si k tobě pro radu. Nothing strange, right? But here we can use the plural form. Dala mi dvě dobré rady. She gave me two pieces of good advice. Or we could also leave out this one. We could just say dala mi dvě rady. She gave me two pieces of advice. Remember that rada as in advice is countable, so we can have dobré rady, some good advice. Dobrá rada nad zlato. Good advice is better than gold. Another feminine noun, can you believe that? Experience, as in a set of skills, is zkušenost. ta zkušenost. It's feminine ending in a consonant. I recently covered this topic. What's the difference between zkušenost and zážitek? Because in English they both translate to experience. When we talk about knowledge and skills, that's zkušenost. And in English it doesn't really translate to something you can count. But in Czech, we love to use it in plural form. Or singular, or we can count them. Mám s tím špatnou zkušenost. I have a bad experience with it. Mám s tím špatnou zkušenost. This is the singular form. However, it's very common to use it in plural as well. You could say, mám s tím špatné zkušenosti. Plural. I have some bad experience with it. So you could say, mám s tím špatnou zkušenost. Jednu špatnou zkušenost. Or špatné zkušenosti. That's plural. S programováním má spoustu zkušeností. I use this word again. Spoustu, plenty. He or she has a lot of experience with programming. S programováním má spoustu koho, čeho? Zkušeností. Genitive plural. Spoustu zkušeností. If you wanted to emphasize, you have 2 pieces of experience. In Czech you could also say, mám s tím 2 zkušenosti. If you experience 2 things when you learned something, you can count that in Czech. Our 5th word is masculine progress, a masculine noun, pokrok. Pokrok. I like this word because krok is a step and pokrok is a step forward in a way. So naturally we can count those steps forward in Czech. If you say that's progress in Czech, that translates to to je pokrok. To je pokrok. You can see this is singular. To je pokrok. But if you evaluate your progress or someone else's progress, it's often in plural. It's very common to use it in plural form. Dělat pokroky. To make progress. Dělat, udělat pokrok. If you talk about a specific progress. Or, in general, you have advanced. That would be in plural. Pokroky. Dělat, udělat pokroky. Děláš pokroky means you're making progress. You're making steps forward. Děláš pokroky. Pokroky. Often if you say in what you've made progress, in Czech that would also work with the preposition v. For example, děláš pokroky v češtině. You're making progress in Czech. Za rok jste udělali velké pokroky. Over the year you've made a lot of progress. Big progress. Za rok jste udělali velké pokroky. And you can see this is also plural. Udělali jste pokroky, udělali jste velké pokroky. This is usually not something that we would count, but it is very common to use it in plural form. Remember, dělat pokrok, dělat pokroky. Number 6, baggage or luggage translates to zavazadlo. Zavazadlo is another noun. And we can count it, we often count it in Czech. If they spoke to you in Czech at the airport, they would ask, kolik máte zavazadel? How many pieces of luggage do you have? How much luggage do you have? Kolik máte zavazadel? Zavazadel, that's genitive plural. Jedno zavazadlo, 2 zavazadla, 3 zavazadla, 4 zavazadla, 5 zavazadel. It's almost a tongue twister. Zavazadlo, zavazadlo, even I stumbled. Zavazadlo, zavazadla, zavazadel. Mám 2 zavazadla. I have 2 pieces of luggage. This is the accusative case. Mám 2 zavazadla. Mám 2 zavazadla. Say it with me. Zavazadla. Zavazadla. Zavazadla, zavazadla. Another handy word is příruční zavazadlo. Příruční zavazadlo, hand luggage. Příruční zavazadlo. You can say in Czech, mám jedno příruční zavazadlo. And if you are at the airport or at a shopping center, you can look for úschovna zavazadel. Úschovna zavazadel is a luggage storage or luggage locker, where you can leave your luggage if you want to walk around without it for some time. Úschovna zavazadel, storage of luggage, of the luggages. That's plural too. Of course, we have the word kufr. but that's a suitcase, which is also countable in English. Our seventh word is homework. In Czech, that's domácí úkol. A masculine noun. Literally, this was translated to something like home task. Úkol is a task or assignment. In Czech, we count them. Dostanete 2 domácí úkoly. You will get 2 pieces of homework, or you'll get 2 homework assignments. 2 domácí úkoly. Accusative case. Dostanete 2 domácí úkoly. Mám strašně moc domácích úkolů. I have way too much homework. I have an awful lot of homework. Mám strašně moc domácích úkolů. Genitive plural. I have an awful lot of homework assignments. Domácích úkolů. We could leave out the word domácích. We could just say mám strašně moc úkolů if it's clear from the context that you mean homework assignments. Very typical in Czech schools. Domácí úkol is abbreviated as DO. Domácí úkol. The teachers would write this. Just abbreviation to write a short note. Domácí úkol abbreviates to DU. DU. And finally, chleba. Bread. That's a misleading word in English in general. Because in Czech and in other Slavic languages, chléb or chleba doesn't mean bread in general. First of all, if you ask for chléb or chleba, you will get this type of bread. This is actually just a little piece of bread, kousek chleba, čtvrtka chleba, quarter of a loaf of bread. But in Czech we say directly půl chleba, half a loaf of bread, čtvrt chleba, quarter of a loaf of bread. This is chleba. We have other types like rohlík, roll, houska, this bun. So bread could be translated in many ways. It depends on what type of bread. But I chose the one that's most typical in Czech. First of all, what is the difference between chléb and chleba? Chléb is the proper word that you will see on labels. This one actually is called náš chléb. It's a store. Náš chléb. That's the proper word. I don't think a lot of people would use this word. It's formal. Everybody uses the word chleba. That's informal and widely used in spoken Czech. Chleba. They're both masculine. Ten chleba, ten chléb. So since we mean this specific bread, chleba, we can count it. Kup jeden chleba. Buy 1 loaf of bread. Kup jeden chleba. Properly, that would be kup jeden chléb. I don't think anyone would say that. Kup jeden chleba. Or you go to a bakery and you see only 2 loaves of bread remaining. They don't look that great. So you don't buy any and then you say, už měli jen 2 poslední chleby. They only had 2 loaves of bread left. 2 last loaves of bread. Už měli jen 2 poslední chleby. 2 chleby. A to je všechno. This video was packed with information. Hodně informací. Let me know what words were new for you. If you have any stories related to these words, feel free to write it in the comments so we can read it and learn from this experience. Zkušenost a zkušenosti. But now it's time for an exercise. Your task is to fill in these 6 sentences with the correct words in the correct form. You might have to change the forms of these words. Pause the video, jdeme to zkontrolovat. Číslo 1. Učitel mi dal užitečné rady, jak zlepšit mluvený projev. Užitečné rady. Helpful advice. Helpful advices. Číslo 2. Do Austrálie cestovala se 3 zavazadly. Se 3 zavazadly. We need the instrumental case here. Číslo 3. Potřebuju víc informací, než se rozhodnu. Víc informací. Genitive plural. Číslo 4. Vidím, že v angličtině děláš pokroky. Děláš pokroky. Steps forward. Číslo 5. Celý víkend jsem dělal domácí úkoly. Domácí úkoly. Accusative plural. A číslo 6. Bude nás hodně, tak kup 3 chleby. 3 chleby. Excellent. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've made progress. Udělali jste pokroky v češtině. And made the year 2026 be even more successful. Mějte se krásně a uvidíme se zase za týden. Ahoj.